The point that you made about the Maltese people being so welcoming, I mean, Malta's a fantastic island. If anybody does listen to this and they've not visited Malta, I would highly recommend that you go and pay them a visit, because they are a super people and they've got a fascinating history on that island. And if you're interested in any form of history, then it's fascinating, their sort of background. So if anybody fancies where can I go in the Med, then go and have a look at Malta. It's a cracking little place. I found that pretty much everywhere that we went, in all of the years that I was in and all the foreigners that I did, that the people when we got there were really, really welcoming. I can't think of anywhere in particular. We went to some rough old places, didn't we? No disrespect to Pakistan, but Karachi is not the best run ashore. Djibouti is not the best run ashore. Even in places like that, the people were super and they were really, really friendly. And I think that in a world which has become very, very polarized and people are very set against each other, I think it's really good to remember that even in the wop-wops, in the middle of nowhere, people are good as a general rule. There are some really good people. We've spoken before about just wandering through the streets at night and having got a clue where you are, trying to find your ship and get back to the dockyard. You don't know where you are. You could be anywhere. Never any serious issues. I mean, stealing a Russian tank, that was one thing. That sort of brought a few issues. Doing deals for camels, that was another thing that sort of causes a few issues. All of this sort of stuff. But, generally,
I know what you mean. And that's the thing to bear in mind as well, is that a lot of the major places that we've been to are well known, like Sydney and places like that, because they're ports. But there's a lot of places you have to go to, you struggle to find on a map, or would want to go there as a tourist. In Malaysia, we went to a place called Lamut. We'd been to Singapore, went up to Lamut. I would never have gone there as a tourist. Loved it. Fantastic. The night food markets there are just spectacular. Often these little places that you would find now off trail are far better than the ones that are like the tourist traps. You would know this. If you go to Italy, go to little towns because they're fantastic and often overlooked, certainly by foreign tourists. So that's one thing I've learned. Get off the beaten track.
Always trying to locate somebody. If you get chatting to somebody who's a local and say, where do you guys drink? Where do you guys go and have a knees up? And then they go, we actually go around here. You go, I'll come with you. And you end up in amongst all the locals, and being in amongst the locals is so much more fun.
Especially in Italy. We went on holiday once. We went to Vinci. This was only about 15 years ago, and they were still doing the walking up and down, looking at each other, the girls and boys with their chaperones. But we had a meal at Trattoria, or Ostia. I never know the difference, you'll know. And it was full of locals, and they were loud. Literally, you couldn't hear yourself speak. It was so loud. There's only about 20 people in there, but wow, it's the loudest I've ever had a meal. Fantastic food, but you just couldn't hear yourself talk. Well, you would never do that if you was on a tourist package deal or something. You just wouldn't have gone there, and you're absolutely right.
I can echo that sentiment, because when I was living down in Naples, one of my sort of regular haunts, there was a couple. There was the place called the Castle, which was like a British pub. There was the Amelia Hotel, which was, again, frequented primarily by Americans and Brits, with a few Italians thrown in. But then just a little bit further out, there was Tony's restaurant. It was a pizza place, and you would just go there, man, and it was fantastic. And Tony was absolutely superb. And it was lots of Italian families, so you can imagine like the big families with little tiny kid in arms, through to great-grandfather sat at the end of the table, sort of hunched over his glass of vino. Just a great vibe, a great feel, and it would just be a whole evening, from 6 o'clock onwards through to midnight. And there's music and there's movement and there's people and there's kids and there's noise, and you just get involved in all of that. And that was such a nice vibe. I really like that. I really like the Mediterranean lifestyle, to be honest. I love the way that they do it.
Especially in Italy.
I guess traditional family values, which I appreciate. They've got a care for the elders, which I also appreciate. Really do appreciate that. And having spent all morning running around trying to help out an 88-year-old woman here who's not getting the help that she needs from family, I really appreciate cultures like Italy that, when I was out there, held firm value for the elderly and what they could do with them and how they could help them.